You're listening to the Heavy Duty Parts Report. I'm your host, Jamie Irvine, and this is the podcast where you will get expert advice about the heavy duty parts you buy and keep you informed about what's happening in the industry. This episode is sponsored by truckpartsinventory.com. Lowering cost per mile is all about finding the right part quickly. At truckpartsinventory.com, you will save time by searching inventory from around North America in one place. You will save money by having the option of buying new, used, or aftermarket parts. You'll save yourself work by sending a parts request and having companies contact you. Truckpartsinventory.com is easy to use and it's free. Go to truckpartsinventory.com today. On June 1st, 2019, I aired the first 3 episodes of the Heavy Duty Parts Report. It was an exciting time. At that moment, I really had 2 goals. One, I wanted to serve the industry. As a sales account manager, I often brought manufacturers out to my location, and we would travel around and talk to my customers. And I always enjoyed spending time with those manufacturers, getting to know the story of their company, then working with my clients, my customers, and having those manufacturers share with them, interesting facts and things that they needed to know about the parts that they were buying from me. And so it was a great collaboration. I always loved that. So when I started the podcast, I wanted to be able to capture those kinds of conversations and make them available to the entire industry. Second, I really wanted to create business opportunities for myself because although I did really enjoy my job, I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I owned my own company from 2009 to 2016, and I sold it in 2016, and I was ready to start another company. Well, after doing this for just over a year, it's awesome to be able to say that I have been able to successfully achieve both of those goals. And really, when you think about it, what a year we've had. In the first few months, I really struggled to find guests. I often was recording episodes like on Friday. I was editing them on the weekend and publishing them on Monday. It was a little touch and go there for a while, but I worked hard, and soon the industry started to embrace what I was doing. We started signing sponsors early on, and it really is something that I have to express my appreciation to those sponsors to help us out. When I think back to our first sponsor, Ray Gross of the Mobile Maintenance Association, I interviewed Ray in episode 9, and he took a chance on us, and he sponsored the podcast. It was great to have him as our first sponsor. As things went on and we started doing more and more episodes, it started to get easier to find guests. And by the time I interviewed Tyler Robertson, who's the CEO and founder of Diesel Laptops in episode 13, things were starting to move in the right direction. And I could kind of feel that there was a bit of momentum picking up, but the next few weeks were going to be truly a whirlwind. Tyler Robertson decided to sponsor the podcast next, and we were excited to promote truckpartscross.com from October until the end of 2019. Because Tyler and I were interacting together, getting to know each other, I had interviewed him on the podcast. He was now a sponsor. A business opportunity developed, and that was it was something I hoped for, but when it was actually happening, I almost couldn't believe it. In December, I actually resigned from my position as a sales account manager, and January 1st, 2020, I launched my consulting business. And that was really, really exciting. As we contemplated the new year, I don't think any of us could have ever imagined what was about to happen. But in January and February, I got that business off the ground, and we started working with different companies. I actually was able to fly all over the country. I was in over 20 flights, in as many cities, meeting with clients, going to trade shows. And we were able to add another sponsor to the podcast. From January to March, Full Bay was the sponsor, and that is an interview that I did. How I met the people at Full Bay is I interviewed their founder in episode 21 back in November of 2019. So then through getting to know Jacob Findley, we were able to talk about having him as a sponsor and successfully get them to sponsor the show for the first 3 months of 2020. That was awesome. As I mentioned, I was flying around the country. I was going to trade shows. I was in Texas for HDAW. I was in Las Vegas for ATD, and I was in Atlanta for TMC. And by the way, I got to go to a couple hockey games, one in Dallas and one in Vegas, which was awesome for a Canadian. Loved it. And since I knew I was going to be traveling so much at the beginning of the year, I made a decision very early in 2020 to hire my first employee. So I hired Taryn Hohenson. He's my post production and marketing manager. He manages our social media. He actually is a contributor to the blog. And it has been just awesome to have Taryn part of the team. In fact, I really couldn't do what I do without Taryn. So, Taryn, big thank you. And I know you're editing this right now, so you're hearing this. Since hiring Taryn, I actually added 2 more employees, but I'll talk about that in a little bit. There's a little more to the story than just that. Now, we were very happy to add our 4th sponsor starting from April and running through to the end of June. And that all started with Scott Tates and I having a discussion at HDAW in Texas. But actually, it goes back a little bit farther than that, because in episode 7, I interviewed one of Scott's employees, Brandon Gamblin. That's when we kind of met Truck Parts Inventory. And they're kind of neighbors to us. I live in Edson. They're based in Edmonton, so we're only a couple hours apart. That was really cool. But once Scott and I got to talk in Texas, got to know each other better, Scott's willingness to support the show was just so appreciated, and it was wonderful to have him and truckpartsinventory.com as a sponsor. Of course, you can't have them as a sponsor and not have them on the show. So we interviewed Scott in episode 42. Now, since March of 2020, our world has been through an unprecedented time. The pandemic, the associated economic collapse, the social unrest, on subjects that affect all of us and that we all need to give some attention to because our society can do better and we need to make changes. And really, here at the Heavy Duty Parts Report, we haven't been exempt from the far-reaching effects of all of this unprecedented things going on in the world. For example, it was really scary when my aunt got the virus. And for 21 days, it was a little touch and go. She has asthma, it developed into pneumonia, and we were really scared that we were going to lose her. Fortunately, she did recover. And remember when I talked about hiring those 2 salespeople? Well, both of those salespeople have since left our company. And really, it was because of reasons beyond anyone's control. So we were sad to see them go. And now we've got some decisions to make on who we're going to hire next. And I have to admit that in May, I started to lose the faith a little bit. We had such amazing momentum going out of 2019, coming into 2020. And even the first quarter of 2020 was just, the momentum was amazing. Things were going so well. We were signing clients. Everything was working properly. And then in April and May, it just all went to zero. And it didn't seem to matter what we did. No matter how hard we tried, everything we were trying just seemed to not work out. And I got really discouraged. But I like the idea that in the darkness is where we confront our personal demons. And by confronting them, we also discover the light that will lead us out of that darkness. And I've always loved that visual. I'm a very visual thinker. I think that's kind of the way it works. And this unprecedented time that our world is facing has, yes, in some ways it's added to stress. It's brought out some bad, parts of our society and brought that to the surface. But it also brought out how amazing people are. And we found out that as a society, we're a lot stronger than we thought. And I know as an individual, I found out just how strong I can be. And this isn't the first time I've experienced this in my life. I've had many hardships and I've always emerged stronger than the time before. And so really, one of the things that was very good for our industry, the trucking industry, was how the pandemic highlighted how vitally important our industry really is. And we saw a swell of support for truck drivers and for the people who support the trucking industry. And that was really awesome. And I'm excited to share that at the Heavy Duty Parts Report, we're determined to build on the foundation that we laid in our first year. And we've got some really innovative ideas. One of them you've already seen. Our giveaway system has started. If you haven't, go to the show notes for this episode and you can click on the link for the giveaway system, or you can go to jamieirvine.ca and right at the top menu, there's a giveaway button. We've got some great giveaways that we've done, and we've got a whole bunch more planned. We've also got some other innovative things that we're going to do in year 2, and I'm really excited to share those with you, but you're going to have to tune in to hear about them. Now, when you look at the content that we put out, it really started with a podcast, but we're so much more than that 1 year out. We're a podcast. All the podcast episodes are also produced as videos, and we also turn them into blog articles. So whether you like to listen, watch, or read, you can get the content that we're putting out. We also have been testing some new segments like HDPR Live, where we actually have live interviews and live presentations from myself. That's been exciting. So stay tuned to hear about some of the new things that we're doing. And also, the best way to make sure that you don't miss any of the content we're putting out or miss any of the giveaways that we're doing or hearing about innovative things is going over to our website at jamieirvine.ca. And right on the homepage, you can click a button to get my weekly email. Or you can go to jamieirvine.ca/newsletter and sign up there. Links are in the show notes, and make sure you subscribe. That's the best way to make sure that you don't miss out on anything that we're doing. I really want to close this bonus episode with just a great big thank you. Thank you to the audience. Without you, what we do wouldn't matter. Thank you to the sponsors and the guests, the manufacturers who so kindly take time out of their schedule to come and add value and participate in the Heavy Duty Parts Report. It truly is awesome. You've been listening to the Heavy Duty Parts Report now for over 1 year and over 50 episodes. How exciting is that? I'm your host, Jamie Irvine. Thank you for joining us in this special episode to celebrate our 1-year anniversary. Here is to your good health and many, many more years together. Have you subscribed to the podcast yet? Go to heavydutypartsreport.com today to subscribe to the podcast, and don't forget to give us a 5-star rating and review on the podcast player of your choice. I'd like to remind everyone to focus on cost per mile over purchase price, and let's keep those trucks and trailers rolling. You can watch our next video, and don't forget, subscribe to the YouTube channel.